Hello, ladies. Welcome to Ignite Your Destiny. I am Jamie Marie, and I am the host of the show. And I am so excited to welcome today Morgan Nield. Hello, Morgan.
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
And I'm so glad you're here. Can you share with the ladies more about yourself?
Sure. So my name's Morgan Nield. I am an Etsy kind of success story, which sounds really weird to say, but that's kind of how it is. I started an Etsy shop back in 2013. It took off like wildfire. It went just completely crazy. I've been doing it for about 4 years now. And in the past year, I've transitioned a little bit more over into coaching and offering training courses and just helping people get their Etsy shops off the ground, and kind of bringing them that fulfillment and that full-time like income and purpose that they're looking for. So that's kind of a little bit about what I'm doing right now. I have my hands kind of in both pots right now. It's a little bit crazy, but it's good and I love it. So
I love it. So how did you decide to start your business or start with Etsy?
yeah, so I got married in 2011 and my husband was he was a full-time getting his graduate degree, and he was also working full-time. And so he was just constantly busy. And I got to the point where I could only play Donkey Kong so many evenings. And I was like, okay, I'm going nowhere with my life. And so I read this book. I can't even remember. It was, I was working for a book publisher at the time, and it was called The Power of Starting Something Stupid. And I can't even remember who it's by. But I was like one of those pre-advanced copies, and they were having me as one of the beta readers. And they encouraged, it was just the idea of like starting your own business. And it really intrigued me. And so I was like, while my husband's doing all of his homework and work and stuff, I'm going to start my own business. I didn't tell him about it. I didn't tell my mom. I was terrified of failing. And I'm like one of those, let me fail behind the scenes if I can sort of people. And so I kind of started it, and it went pretty well, actually. This was back in 2011. And then I just kind of got burned out. I found out I was pregnant and I wasn't able to do a lot of things just because I was working full time. I wasn't feeling super great I didn't have a super great pregnancy either. And so I kind of quit that for a while. And once I gave birth to my daughter, I was diagnosed with really severe postpartum depression and anxiety, like postpartum psychosis as well. And it wasn't a great thing. And I just felt really alone. I felt really lost. I felt like I lost my complete sense of purpose. I went from being an event manager, like constantly hustling all the time and interacting with people all day long, to sitting at home in like a townhouse with a newborn baby that was so angry all of the time. She was a mad baby. She's good now, but she was a mad baby at the time. And so I decided to throw myself back into starting a business. And so in 2013, that's when Little Highbury started, kind of as a way to cope with postpartum depression. A lot of people ask me, like, how did you do that? Well, you were actually struggling with postpartum depression, these feelings of loneliness, because we just moved into our townhouse 2 weeks earlier. Like my daughter came early, and so I knew nobody. Like I literally knew nobody, and everybody was like, well, why would you start a business when you've got this newborn and you're trying to get adjusted? And to me, it was like the only answer. Like, I have to do this or I'm going to go insane. And so that's kind of like a little bit of backstory of kind of how I got started. It just became a coping project that just turned crazy. And yeah, I don't know. It's seriously by the grace of God. I honestly feel that 100 times over. So
I love that. And I'm so glad that you shared that in a vulnerable way, because I know that as moms, we do experience those hard times where
oh my gosh,
we're just wandering around. You look in the mirror and you're like, oh man, who am I? Like, what happened to me?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So true. Yeah.
The coping, I love how you said that. Like, it really started as a coping thing.
No, it absolutely was. It was the thing that distracted me from like this completely, 180-degree switch in my life. And it wasn't a bad switch. Like I love being a mother now. It's not easy for me. It's not even remotely easy for me. Just because I am a type A personality and I like things organized, and there's nothing organized about motherhood. Not even remotely. And so it's still not easy for me, but it is much better. But yeah, at the time, I just was like so in over my head. It was the only way I could cope with having this structure of creating a business and like having these to-do lists to check off every single day.
Yes.
So
it sounds like it really gave you a purpose, like to look forward to, not that motherhood's not enough, but because you're in that time in life, maybe it just gave you that, just really gave you something to look forward to. Like I'm a checklist person too. So being able to check it off,
Yeah.
you feel accomplished.
Yeah, and that's the thing when you are like a mom to a newborn, or whether you have multiple kids. I still only have one because I'm still recovering, I swear, from all of that. But yeah, whether you have one or you have four kids, like even as you go about your day-to-day things, like there is a bit of a daily grind, and yes, you're accomplishing things, but you're going to have to do them, the next day and the next day. And there's not just like an end goal in sight. Like there is, I mean, they turn 18, right? And they're independent adults.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm assuming that's the end goal. But at this point, yeah, fingers crossed. But yeah, just in the day-to-day motherhood, it's easy to get caught up in that grind because like, I mean, you're going to change diapers today and you're going to change them tomorrow. And yes, you're accomplishing things, but it just keeps going. And with business, it really gave me that kind of that like end goal. Like even though I was going to, keep working past that end goal and try and grow my business and things, I knew that like I could get a blog post up today. Like that was something, and I could accomplish that, and it was done. And just like, just creating my product and things like that, creating new designs. And then I could, check it off my list. I was done with that, and I'd accomplished something. I'd put something out in the world. And it was bringing a smile to other people. And that was a huge thing, knowing that even though I was not stuck at home, but I was at home with my newborn baby, I was still able to put things out into the world and to bring joy to other people, even though I felt really isolated myself.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's so true and so real. It's so true. I've been there. I'm like, I don't even know how to explain that, but I get that. That's so,
No,
so
yeah.
true. And do you feel like it really like transformed your depression that you were dealing with, or
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, I'm like not even remotely shy about addressing the fact that I had postpartum depression. It was so, so, so bad. Like I got hospitalized for it. It was awful. It took me 18 months to get over it actually, which is a long time. There's a lot of factors that went into it. A large part of it being away from family and not knowing a soul with this newborn baby. But having this business, it definitely helped me get out of that because it did give me that sense of purpose. And while a lot of postpartum depression, I mean, it is a lot of hormonal and chemical imbalances going on as your body is trying to readjust. And it's just taking slower than most new moms take. And there is that factor, and that does take time. But having some sort of purpose, it really, I don't know, it really like lifted my spirits. And I feel like it helped me get out of it quicker than I would have normally. I know 18 months is a long time, and it doesn't sound quick at all. And at the time, it was not even remotely quick. But I feel like it could have been a lot worse for a lot longer. Like I was able to cope a lot better having this business and just having that purpose and knowing like when I woke up in the morning, yes, I was caring for this newborn baby, but I also had this business that I could, turn to while she was napping or late at night that I could do and feel fulfilled, like creatively and emotionally, and just interacting with other people too. So.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for sharing that. I know that
Yeah.
wasn't like originally what we were planning on talking about, but
No, oh gosh, I talk about it all the time. Like,
so
yeah, and I mean, if anybody is watching this and they're struggling with any form of postpartum depression or anxiety, like, please feel free to reach out at any time. I felt so alone, and I never want anybody to have to go through that alone. It's hard, but there are those of us that have gone through it and struggled through it, and there is hope on the other side. Like, I never thought I'd say that, but here we are, and I'm saying it. So, I don't know. That's just so important to understand that, like, even if you feel like you are alone trying to do it on your own, like, there are other people that have gone through it that, I mean, are there for you. And I'm totally, I don't know. I feel maybe that's a little bit weird. I don't mean it to be weird, but I'm definitely someone, if at any point, I mean, I'm very open about it. And anyways, I don't know.
Yeah, I love that because I don't feel that a lot of women are. And I know that's, the depression and postpartum anxiety. I mean, I still have anxiety every day, and it's something that a lot of us as women don't talk about because
just the stigma
for some
attached
reason,
to.
It's just got that stigma to it. So I thank you for saying that and because that realness is so needed amongst women because we do have to come together and help support each other through that.
Yeah,
it's hard.
absolutely.
It's so
it's hard enough to do by yourself. It's so much better to have support and just that just that networking group that you can rely on to help you through it. So
definitely. So do you feel that there was ever a time that you really had to struggle, to juggle being a mom and a business owner?
Oh my gosh, right? Like the question of all questions.
I may
One
know
thing
the
that I
answer.
learned, one thing I learned like really early on, um, as I was trying this whole new motherhood thing and also running this business, I felt like I was chasing this like ideal of this perfect balance in my life where I was going to have this, like this much energy for this and this much energy for this and devote the same amount of time and it was all going to work out and balance and I could just allot time for this and like so 3 hours here with the baby and then she's going to nap and I'll do the business. And anyways, I thought, because I am a list maker, I'm totally type A. I was like, I can just do this and it's going to balance out and fine. And I learned really early on that there is no such thing as balance with motherhood and running a business. Like there is not. And anybody that tells you otherwise is like one step away from having everything be unbalanced. Like it's just this constant ebb and flow. And that was one thing, once I learned to accept that, I read, it was on the Shine Project. Her name's like Ashley Lameau. She does the Shine Project. She's another business owner. And she had written a blog post about that. And she's like, there's no such thing as balance while you're being a mother and you're running this business. And it kind of like gave me permission to be like, okay, yeah, like it doesn't have to be perfectly balanced. And I find some days, yes, I have to devote more to the business. And maybe my daughter needs me a little bit less and she's happy to play by herself and entertain herself for a little bit. Whereas other days, she's sick and she needs me for most of the day and the business is just going to have to be put on hold. And as much as I'd like to say, like, I found that balance, like it's just constant ebb and flow all the time. And once you become okay with that, like it becomes a lot easier. There really is no balance. And it's okay to like feel a little guilty about not spending time in your business or feel a little guilty, that you didn't work during her nap time or something like that. Like, it's okay to feel that little bit of guilt and understand that there is no like perfect way to do this. You do what works for you. And like, I think Tina Fey was it Amy Poehler? One of those like funny comedian girls. She quoted in her book and she said, good for her, not for me. And that has really shaped my life so much. And I know that's like way cheesy. And I'm like, I'm taking advice from a comedian, which isn't a bad thing, I guess. I mean, they've got some good things to say, right? But, yeah, good for her, not for me. And I thought that was just so great that just because someone else, maybe it works for them, that doesn't mean that has to be the way you run it. You figure out what works for you and your family and your business. And then you do what works for you and you don't have to worry about what other people say or how many hours you should be devoting to your business a day or, if you should be homeschooling your children instead of sending them, to public school or anything like that. You do what works for your family. And the pieces just fall into place. And I mean, it's still going to be that constant juggling act. Like, I feel like I'm still doing that almost every single day. But I mean, once you accept that it's okay that your way is different than everybody else's, like, it's so empowering. It really, truly is.
Yes, and it is constantly evolving, and then it seems like I'm sure you agree, like you get into a rhythm and then something has to change.
Uh-huh.
A season changes,
Yep.
sports start or something, and it's like, okay,
Yeah, exactly.
but, if we can look at it from the mindset of at least I have that flexibility to be able to change with it, and to be able to move through those times of ups and downs in the schedule. There, like you said, there is no balance.
There's no balance.
and don't let anybody tell you there is balance.
Yeah.
So,
No, I agree. Yeah, looking at it with that mindset of it's a blessing that we have that flexibility to be able to do that. I love that so much. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Jamie. That was like, I love that. That's so good.
well, and I can say that because sometimes I know in the beginning, almost like before you, or how you mentioned, it's okay to accept that there's going to be that change. I used to be so hard on myself because I was like, oh, I have to do XYZ or I have to do this. But then changing my mindset, I was able to say, okay, but is that going to be something that can't wait till tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
So, or I mean, I could go off on a tangent on that as well, but I still, I'm type A too. So it's still, I want to get it done and I want to get it done now, but I can now put it to the side and say, okay, it's not something that's immediate and has to be done. So, so I really think that's a mindset shift. And have you seen?
Yeah, mindset is so important. It really is. Like, I feel like that's something that we don't pay attention. We just want to follow the logical steps, like A, B, C will get you here, kind of thing. Follow. But mindset really is a huge thing too. And that's another, like I said, that's a tangent we could go off on forever. But just having that mindset and understanding, like getting past the guilt and being able to just work through that and understand, this is what I need to do and this is what's going to work for us and our family. And for me as a business owner, is just so important. Like giving yourself permission to be able to chase your dreams is so important too.
Yeah, and giving yourself permission to succeed as well.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like, as moms especially, because you see all like the single women entrepreneurs and, they're just, I don't know. It's a completely different situation. I have so many friends that are that, that fall into that category. But when you come, just like having that motherhood is just kind of like this invisible bond between us all, that we're kind of all not struggling, but we're balancing a lot more. Like I said, we're trying to balance all these different plates, and just understanding that, like it's not easy, but you do have to give yourself permission to be able to succeed. And like, it's okay that you want to be a successful business owner and you want to have something else in your life, besides, just being a mom. And I don't mean that like just a mom, like being a mom is fantastic, but if there's something else that you want, and you're willing to do the work to make it happen, I mean, you have to have that mindset that yes, you can achieve that. Yes, you deserve that. And if you're willing to work for it, it can be yours. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. And you said something earlier that I wanted to touch on, and it's kind of going backwards, but I know so many women, and but it ties into how you said, it's not just a mom, but I see a lot of women that really take on that guilt for wanting to start their dreams and their passions because their moms didn't do that. Their mom was just a mom, and that was her job, and so I think that's important to really almost break that cycle of thinking, break that cycle within our generations, because truly, we aren't our moms. I would love to be my mom. She's amazing, but
no, absolutely.
I'm not. And my mom would look at me and go, I could never do what she does. We're all built differently. And so it's important to remember that when we go into that comparison trap. And
yes, absolutely,
expect ourselves to be what our generations ahead of us were, because we're not. We're us.
And we live in a different age, and there's different opportunities that weren't there back then. And that's the amazing thing about the internet and, running an online business and starting your own business. Like they didn't have those kind of opportunities back then, and maybe they would have pursued them back then. And it really is, there is that difference in that generation. Me and my mom are like complete polar opposites in terms of motherhood and just personality in general. Growing up, we were always kind of butted heads, just because we were so different personality wise. But I respect her so much for how she chose to, stay home and be that just a mom. And I don't mean that. That is the hardest job there is. Like everybody's like, being a business owner is hard. Yeah, it is. Being a mother is so much harder. I feel like it is so much harder, and there's so much more at stake. And I admire her so much, and she admires me for being able to be a mom and run a business. And it's just that mutual respect too, is just really, really important. There's no right way to do anything, or to do anything. That sounds, let me give life advice here. There's no one right way to raise a family, right? Every family is different and every person is different. And we just come with these different skills and abilities and personalities. And it's just finding what works for your family that's so important. And that's where that fulfillment and that purpose come from. So.
Definitely is. So I know a lot of the backstory with your business and how you transition things, but the first thing I want to ask you is so you were dealing with the postpartum and your husband being gone and the new baby. How did you come up with the product that you knew you wanted to jump out and be able to share?
It makes it sound like I put so much thought and purpose into it. So what actually happened, so yeah, I got into this nesting phase when I was pregnant, and I just spend time at work that I probably shouldn't have been spending, browsing baby stuff, because I was having a baby girl and I was really excited about that, and I really wanted the baby headbands and bows, because I this is so silly, but babies that were born without hair, I was always so concerned that people would think she was a boy, and it's just one of those little things, but I was like, I want everybody to know that she's a girl. So I was super big into headbands looking online, and I couldn't find anything that I really liked. And And so I decided, like, with my amazing seamstress skills, which I do not have, I decided I was going to make my own knotted headbands, because that's something I wanted. And I didn't, there were some people that had them, they didn't have the patterns of fabric I liked, or they were like way too expensive and I wasn't willing to invest that kind of money. And so I decided to kind of start up on my own. And so it just kind of became like this thing that I was doing for my daughter. And then I had some people, once I gave birth to her, like I had some neighbors stop by, like I didn't know them. Like I said, I was brand new to the area, and they saw them, and a couple of them were like, I want to place an order for those for my baby girls too. And I was like, oh, okay, like let's hurry and, figure this kind of thing out. And it just kind of took off from there. And ironically, my daughter was born with like 3-inch long hair, and the headbands just slipped off. Like she never wore a headband. So there's that, irony. So I made these headbands actually for my daughter, and then she never wore them. So it's good. But I just kind of, it just kind of took off like locally, kind of. I just had a lot of interest, and someone was like, you should put it on Etsy. And I was like, yeah, I've been on Etsy before. I could totally do that. And so I just kind of did it, like I said, as a coping mechanism, and it gave me something to do, editing listings and taking photos and all that stuff, and allowed me to learn a new set of like talents and skills that I hadn't developed before, because I'd always done digital products before, which you don't need photographs for. So I was learning photography, which was kind of fun for me. I mean, I wasn't in my right mind, but it like distracted me at the time. And now I can take product photos. Yay. Like skill that I didn't have before, which is really kind of cool. But yeah, it just kind of gave me that way to cope. And then I just kind of created this product because there was just interest in it. And it just, I mean, really like within the first week or so after I listed, I had like, I think 8 listings in my shop, and I sold my first one. I was like, wait, like people on the internet want to buy this stuff. And so I just kept going with it and just running with it and not looking back. And it just, I mean, we tripled our revenue, like every month. It was just growth on growth on growth. And it was so crazy and exciting, but that's kind of how the product came about. It's definitely evolved since then. I mean, we still have the baby headbands, but yeah, It definitely evolved.
And I know, I love that it's okay to start small.
Oh yeah.
And grow with it. And I know there's times that you've had to change, business models here and there, or even products. So, how did you know that it was time to do that? Or like, what would you say to that? Like, to help somebody that might be, they have a business and they're not sure how to switch gears.
So, like the ironic thing about being a business owner is we box ourselves in. Like we have all the freedom in the world. I mean, within reason, everything's figure outable, right? You can pursue pretty much any kind of business model that you want to, but we kind of box ourselves in and say, nope, this is my business idea. This is what I wanted to do. This is kind of what's working now. And this is, I need to stick with it and just see it through. And I mean, yes, to some extent, if you need to see it through to prove something to yourself, I mean, knock yourself out. But it's important to be able to break down those walls and understand that you don't have to stick with your original idea. My original idea, it was stationery, like customized stationery and wedding, like guest books, but they weren't books. They were like big art prints that people could sign, like the balloons, like it was just kind of, I don't know, something modern. I thought it was so cool at the time. And it is. And anyways, it was a fun experiment, and I made money off of it. So it was good. It was a good thing. But yeah, I found that I didn't really love my target market. I didn't love doing all these rush orders for brides that were ordering like a week before their wedding. And I found that I wasn't enjoying the customization where they'd be like, no, if you can make that like half a shade darker on these, and I was like, I can't do all this customization. But yes, it was bringing me money, but I was like, I can't keep doing that. And when I started Little Highbury, like this is a completely different market. And yes, like I'd proven that I could make money doing this other like these wedding guest books and stationery, but I wanted to try something else. And so I just kind of gave myself permission to do that. And I mean, it's been 4 years now, 3.5, 4 years anyway, since I started Little Highbury. And like, to be honest, I'm at that point now where since I have this morgannield.com where I'm teaching other people how to sell on Etsy, I found that I'm shifting away from the Etsy physical product business model, and I'm moving more into the services and the coaching and the online course business model. And I'm loving that. And it's really just understanding that as a person, like you grow. I mean, from your baby, you grow, and it's like, that sounds super cliche, but we change so much as we go, and once you get married, like things change there, and you have a kid, and suddenly you're a completely new person. And the same thing goes with business. You have to start somewhere, but you don't have to start with perfection. And you won't start with perfection. But as you understand what you like and what you dislike and what's working and what comes naturally to you, your business will evolve over time. And you'll just find that, you know, maybe you're not enjoying this as much anymore. And that's okay. Like, you don't have to stick with it. And I like, people think I'm crazy when I say, yeah, I'm quitting Little Highway this year. Because, which is my Etsy shop, because I want to focus more on morganhill.com. Like, people think I'm crazy and they're like, why don't you do both? But, you know, like, the thing to understand is, I mean, understand that you are the business owner. You're the one in charge. This is your business, and you don't have to do it the way other people want you to do it. If it's not bringing you that fulfillment anymore and you want to move on to something else, give yourself permission to do that, to explore that different avenue. I was terrified to transition from physical products into services. Like, I was utterly terrified, like crying myself to sleep, just scared to death. But I felt like I was just being pushed by something higher to just go that route. And it has been like the learning experience of the century, but it has brought me so much more fulfillment than selling physical products ever could. And I wouldn't have ever known that had I like boxed myself in and said, no, this is working. I'm making a full-time income off of the headbands. I need to stay there. And so it's just pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. I mean, like, it's uncomfortable starting a business, but once you get going, you'll get into a comfort zone that you won't think. I mean, when you start, it's like, I'm never going to get used to this, but you do, you get into a comfort zone, but you have to keep pushing past that to grow. And it's okay to let your business evolve. All businesses, they evolve over time. That's just how it works. And as you change, like, you can change your business too. And just giving yourself permission to do that. Something I'm still telling myself most days. I'm like, it's okay to quit Little Hybrid. I want to. It's been a long, drawn out quitting period. I'm like, just one more month. We'll just do one more month. It's good. But anyways, I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
A little bit. Okay.
And the business side of me, I'm sitting here thinking, well, she could sell Little Hybrid. You know.
I know everybody says that, and there's some personal reasons behind why I've chosen not to go that route.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's good. The postpartum is one of it. Yeah. Anyways, there's just really personal and emotional reasons behind that. But yeah, everybody, exactly. Yeah. But I mean, over here, like, yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I don't, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, that's a perfect example. Like, I don't have to do what everybody thinks. Mm-hmm. Like, my family's like, you're crazy. Just sell Little Hybrid. But I don't, you know, like, I don't know. It's my dream, and it's my business to do kind of what I want with it. And if I don't want to pursue that anymore, that's okay. And it's just giving yourself permission. And anybody that's thinking about switching business models or just not really passionate about what they're doing now, like, I want you to feel like you can give yourself permission to try something new, because so much growth comes from just breaking out of whatever kind of mold that you've, you know, boxed yourself into, and just chasing after your dreams. And that sounds so cliche, but it's so true.
So true.
So,
and I love how you say we've put ourselves in that box, because I feel that is true, you know, and you also often hear a lot of people saying, oh, don't change what you're doing, just stick with it, you know. But I love how you have given that permission that you can shift, because we shift
absolutely.
People, you know. Walmart might still be Walmart, but it's not the same as it was when it first started. You know, they've changed, evolved. So I love that.
And that's I mean, like, you'd never expect somebody that's turned 30 to be act the same as they did when they were 20.
Right.
Like, you would never expect that. In fact, you'd like look down on it and be like, haven't you grown up at all? And that's kind of how I like to look at business. Like, I mean, that initial bit, and then if you're not passionate about it and you want to pursue something else, you evolve over time as a person, and your business should too.
I love it. And do you have any other advice or, you know, thoughts that you want to share with the ladies that may be wanting to start, or maybe even increase their current business? Like, share your heart on that.
Oh, yeah. So, well, I love business coaching. That's kind of, I could talk marketing all day long. One thing that just like who I am is I'm big on like actionable steps. Like, I love talking about like being, you know, like the inspiring quotes and being empowered, and you can do this kind of thing. But I'm a type A person that's like, just tell me what to do. And so I kind of have some thoughts on that. Just kind of, if you are getting started with a business, or you're thinking about transitioning over from a current business you have that maybe isn't bringing you fulfillment or isn't earning you that income that you kind of want. Kind of like a step-by-step process that I work with a lot of my clients and my students on, that just kind of helps you, I don't know, gain control of your business and help you to be able to move forward and actually accomplish those goals that you have for yourself. So kind of just like a breakdown of steps, kind of the first thing you have to do is have that business idea, right? So if you're not passionate about what you're currently doing, I don't want you to continue doing that. And so many people will be like, no, but it's making me money, I have to stay there. Yes, like it's making you money, but if it's not bringing you that fulfillment, like, I mean, if you need that money, that's one thing, and you keep doing that while you build up something else, you can absolutely do that. But if it's not something that you want to do for the rest of your life, just because it's bringing you money, that's not like the best reason to continue doing that. So if you have a different business idea, or if you're just starting a new one, you need to just make sure first off that you've kind of got that business idea. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect, which is what I love. Like, give yourself permission to not have it fully fleshed out, because even if you fully like flesh out all the details right now, I guarantee you when you start it, it's gonna like completely change, and you're gonna be like, oh, scrap that, we can't do that.
Yes.
And there's just as you grow, like there's just so many changes. So just kind of come up with that basic business idea, or what your dream is and what you kind of want to hope to accomplish with that. And then what I recommend next, and this is kind of like a really practical step, is to come up with a revenue goal for yourself. And if you're just getting started, you're like, I'd just like to earn something, like that's great, but I want you to actually come up with a dollar amount. And the reason for that is because it does give you something concrete to actually work towards. It helps solidify like what you're willing to put into your business idea to make it work if you've got a dollar amount connected with it. And it just, it really just helps you to be able to focus your efforts in on actually accomplishing something. Because if you're just like, I just want to make some money this month, like that's fine. But I mean, if you make $10, yeah, you've accomplished your goal. Great. Whereas if you're like, I want to earn $1,000 this month, you're going to work a lot harder to earn that $1,000, right? To actually hit that goal. And so I just recommend coming up with like kind of a benchmark goal for revenue. I break my business model, like my yearly planning down into quarters. I find that works really well for me, especially as a mompreneur. Like some people are gung ho about doing a 12-month like editorial calendar, but things come up. Like it's constantly adjusting. I mean, the kids get out of school for this summer, and that's a completely different ball game. And just like enrolling, in like ballet and sports and all that kind of stuff. And so I find it's really helpful to just do 90-day increments, and then, plan the next 90 days once you have a better idea of kind of what's going on there. But once you've kind of come up with like a revenue goal for a 90-day period, or however long you want to do it, I do recommend next that you kind of come up with a plan of where that revenue is going to come from. And this kind of sounds like like pulling numbers out of thin air, and I don't mean it like that, but it kind of is. But here's the basis for this. You need to understand where your revenue is actually going to come from. And this is just really very practical steps, just action steps. I feel like I should say like, you can do this or whatever, but I really want this to be like actionable, so you kind of know where to go with things. But so you break down kind of where the revenue is coming from. So if you have an Etsy shop, that's great. Are you also going to do craft fairs? Are you going to sell like on Amazon Handmade? Are you going to offer services? Where are you going, in-person events, where are you going to get your revenue from? And it can come from multiple sources. But if you want to earn, say $1,000 this month, it's best to break it down and be like, I want to earn $500 from my Etsy shop this month, and $500 maybe from craft fairs or craft shows. And that helps you in this next step, which is to then take what you've kind of broken down and then create a plan to generate the traffic you need to actually hit those goals. So if you're like, okay, I want to earn $500 from my Etsy shop and $500 from my craft shows to earn that $1,000, right, in the step previous, then I know that I'm going to need to do some things to drive some traffic to my Etsy shop, and I'm going to also need to generate some hype and make sure that the craft shows I'm going to are well attended, they have a good sales history and all that kind of stuff. And it's not just like some rinky-dink, like last minute kind of thing. You want to make sure that you're investing in a craft show that is going to bring you that revenue. And so it's just breaking it down how you're actually going to get there. So like sales at its basis is a numbers game. Like it really is. The more people you bring to your shop, the more sales you will make. Like that's just how it is. And if you're just like, I'm just getting 10 views a day and I'm not making sales, I mean, it's because that the numbers are so low. And so what you need to focus on is not stressing about turning those 10 people into paying customers. It's increasing the number of people that come into your shop. And that's going to be like a much smarter way to increase your sales. And so just kind of, so taking, if you want to earn $500 off of Etsy, well, you need to be driving traffic to your Etsy shop. So that may be focusing on SEO. It may also be really honing in on a Pinterest strategy and driving maybe 200 visitors a day from Pinterest, and just breaking down the different areas that are going to actually drive traffic to your Etsy shop. And again, like the craft show, how you're going to get the word out that you're in the craft show. Are you going to post on social media, encourage your friends to come? Like, how are you actually going to get people there to actually buy your product? And then once you've kind of broken that down, it's time to actually like go out and execute the strategy, which is like the hardest part. I'm such a planner. Like I could see in the research and development phase forever and be perfectly content with my life. But you have to actually move past that. You like actually have to do the work, right? Put yourself out there, be super uncomfortable like every single day. It does get easier, I do promise that. But yeah, you have to put yourself out there and do the work. And then once you've done that, you come back at the end of the 90 days and you kind of evaluate and analyze what you did. So if you tried 3 different strategies, you tried to drive traffic with Pinterest, you decided you were going to drive traffic, through a Facebook group, and then you also focus on SEO, take a quick look using like Google Analytics or even your Etsy Analytics if you are selling on Etsy or something like that. Figure out what strategies actually worked, what ones had the highest return on investment. Like, yeah, Pinterest was driving a ton of people and those were converting into sales. And then the trick here is instead of trying to fix what's broken, because maybe your SEO wasn't great because you didn't really understand SEO and you weren't driving a ton of people with it. Yes, you can definitely fix what's broken, but for mega like growth and impact and just that exponential sales increase, you want to focus on what's actually already working and just increase your efforts on that strategy. You can always add in more later, but if Pinterest is kicking butt for you in quarter one, like pour more into it. Either hire someone out to help you and be able to like create more content and put on more content and just increase your pinning strategy. Or like, I mean, does that make sense kind of? I hope that makes sense. Like take what's working. That's the biggest thing. Take what's working and do more of it. And once you've kind of maxed out yourself in that area and you're like, okay, I'm pinning, the maximum number of pins they recommend per day. I'm pinning my stuff. I'm adding new content regularly. Then go ahead and add in another strategy. Figure out what's working for you. And that first quarter, if you're just getting started or you're transitioning over, is really just figuring out what's actually going to work for you. And so it's a lot of experimenting. It's a lot of failing. It's a lot of falling down 70 times, getting up 80 times kind of thing. But then you evaluate, you analyze, and then you do more of what's working. And that's going to bring you that exponential growth. And I think so many people try and fix like what's not working. They're like, hey, so this, Twitter's not working, but maybe I'm going to post 50 times on Twitter and maybe that will work. Like, yes, you can do that. But if your Pinterest is already working, don't waste time on Twitter, right? Hop onto Pinterest and do more of that. And so that's kind of what I would recommend. You're just getting started, to be really practical about it. Like, don't just say, I want to run a successful business. Like, be very specific, very deliberate about your goals, and then actually break down how you're going to accomplish those goals, like the steps you need to take. It's just kind of reverse engineering, right? I want to earn $1,000 this month. Okay, great. So let's take it down and keep seeing like the steps that we need to take to actually reach that $1,000. Because if you just say, I want to earn $1,000 and you put that on a post-it on your wall, like that's awesome. Yay, go you. You put at least a dollar amount. But you don't actually have a plan on how to get there. And that plan is the part that actually gets you there, right? Yeah. So that's what I recommend. That's like in a completely really fast warped nutshell. But, I mean,
they're actionable steps, and I'm like way too like, just tell me what to do, so I'm glad.
No, seriously.
And something you mentioned, because I believe in it, is I know that you do coaching where you help women with this. And so, and I'm going to have you share like where they can find you in a minute, but share with everybody the value that you've seen in your women that have invested in themselves through coaching with you and the transformation that they've seen. I don't know if you have one specific person or just the power in it, but I mean, I believe in coaching and investing. So I just wanted you to share.
Yeah. So I do private, like one-on-one consultations and coaching mentorship. And I also do like, I also have an online program called Mastermind Your Marketing that is just like a self-paced kind of thing where I pop in, and offer feedback on a weekly basis and do group coaching calls. So it's kind of like more of a group experience and community experience, which is really awesome. this is why I'm like, I need to break away from Little Hybrid, because there's so much fulfillment that has come from just transitioning over to this different business model. The biggest thing, like hands down, is seeing the confidence that it creates and gives these women in themselves and their business. So often, I feel like, especially with Etsy shop owners, they put 100% of their eggs in Etsy's basket, and they're like, here's my SEO, like Etsy, make me sales. And that's fine until Etsy changes the search algorithm and you're, back where you started. Yeah. And this coaching and this program that I work with people to empower them to be able to take charge of their business's future, to take charge of whether they're going to succeed or fail, to give them like 100% control over whether their business is going to thrive or whether it's just going to be kind of stagnant, and giving them like the steps they need to take to make sure that their business is thriving, it is flourishing, and it's growing in the ways that they want to. And that's kind of, I know a lot of people rely on like SEO when it comes to Etsy, or like social media and things like that. One thing, and I think those are both really great tools, and they're things that I definitely teach, but one thing that I think is so important in any business model is to make sure that you are focusing also on strategies that you 100% own. Because like, social media, they change the algorithms all the time. Like Facebook just barely did, like last week or the week before, they just changed Facebook groups again, which is fine, and we all adjust, and it's great. But like having that email list of your own, having your own website that you 100% own, that you 100% know how to drive your own traffic to, is so important. And seeing like the confidence and the empowerment in these women, realizing that yes, like they can. And that's the other thing. Like so many of my students are moms, right? They're moms of all these small kids, and they're trying to do that side hustle thing that you and I both know way too much about. And seeing them being able to actually accomplish it and make it happen, because I've outline the steps for them, and they don't have to trial and error their way through so many things. And just the fact that they know that, okay, these things work, and I can make sales just by doing these things over and over again. So that's the biggest thing, just that confidence and that empowerment that like we really are in control of our own futures. Like we don't have to, leave it up to Instagram whether we succeed or fail, or leave it up to Etsy algorithms whether we succeed or fail. Just knowing that we are in complete control of our success on Etsy or with any online business, and making it work for ourselves. So,
and I love it because it really is true that we have to have that ownership, because we both know, when they change the algorithms, and for some people may be like, well, what's that? But we don't need to go into all of that. But it just completely messes up everything you're working on, and you have to with it and go with it. Mm-hmm. So it's awesome though that you're offering that coaching, and they don't have to figure out the steps to get the success that they want to see. Obviously they have to do the work, to do the work for them, but just the power of investing in yourself is so.
And that's people think like that the really successful people out there like just figured it out all on their own, but like I've invested, and we were talking about this before this call, like you have to invest in your business to grow it. Like, I mean, there is growth that you can definitely do on your own, but you get to a point where you need somebody that's been there, that has that experience, that's understands the struggles you're going through now, and has broken past those barriers and made it to the next level. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've invested so much money in my business, and I haven't regretted any of it. Like, it's been so good, and I absolutely love it. Like, I have a business coach now. Like, I've been doing this online business thing for, over 5 years, 2011, like 7 years from the beginning. Yeah. And I'm still investing in business coaching, and I'm still investing in courses, and just making sure that I'm, investing in my business and making it the best I can be by learning from the expertise of others. I mean, there's only so much that free articles online can do for you, but they can definitely help. But it's just so important to treat your business like a business, even if it is just that part-time hustle on your kitchen table after the kids are in bed, but to treat it like a business and be serious about it. And when you're deliberate, that's when like the real growth happens. It's kind of like the universe's way of saying, oh, you're serious about this. Like, let's make it work. And that sounds hippy dippy. I don't know. It doesn't sound hippy dippy. It sounds good when I say it, and I'm like, oh, I never thought I would be that person that says those things, but it's so true. When you're like serious about it, it's amazing the kind of results you see.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah.
It is. You have to invest in yourself, you know, and I know
Oh,
that's a
yeah.
scary step for some people. I totally do. I just know that.
Oh, it's terrifying. Those
Yes.
first couple times, it's absolutely terrifying. Like, it's not easy for any of us. But I mean, again, it's one of those things that does get easier. And once you see like the results of your efforts and you're like, wow, that investment paid back, 5 times or 10 times, as much. And then you just keep going and learning. And anyways, it's awesome. I would be an eternal student if I could be. Like, I just,
Me
I
too.
love, I love learning.
Me
So.
too. Well, share with the ladies where they can find you and if they want to follow your work, how they can go about doing that.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm just on morgannield.com, like MorganNield.com. My maiden name used to be Gates and nobody ever spelled that wrong. But Nield, like nobody like I even spell it wrong. I'm like, I miss my maiden name so much sometimes. But anyways, I'm just on morgannield.com. To follow along there. And yeah, I mean that's basically where I hang out. I'm
I love
like
it.
trying to think what social media platforms. I haven't been on Instagram for so long.
Yeah.
That's bad.
And then
Bad.
I know
See?
you have a free gift that you are
Oh
offering
yes,
to
I
the ladies
totally
as
do.
well.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a roadmap for Etsy success or anybody that wants to actually sell physical based products. I actually have a lot of students that sell on Amazon Handmade. I have a lot of students that sell on Shopify. So it's not just like Etsy success, but it's just kind of like e-commerce in general. And so I kind of created this like PDF and like Etsy marketing roadmap to kind of walk you through the steps you need to take. Again, I'm super like action step oriented. Like this is what you need to do
Yeah.
instead of being like, make a good business and you got it. So it's really like a step-by-step kind of walk you through getting started, understanding how to create like a marketing system. That's something that's like the thing I'm super passionate about is creating a marketing system and talking about marketing and making it work for your business. And so this PDF kind of walks you through the step-by-step approach to actually getting a marketing system created for your business so you're generating that traffic and those sales that you need to. Also walks you through some of the major mistakes that I see product-based business sellers. And this is digital sellers as well. Just not, I mean, it applies to service sellers too, but it is largely based for physical products or digital products. And I kind of just walked you through some of those mistakes and a little bit more about me and my experience. If you want to learn more about my coping mechanisms, it's all good. So anyways, yeah, so I've got that freebie for everybody that's watching this. And I hope you'll find it really, really helpful.
Yes, they
So,
will. So if you
yeah.
or anybody that's thinking about, doing a physical product and an e-commerce product. I don't know what I was
Yeah.
going to say, but digital anything. Morgan's got the right words. I don't.
Yeah, I'm something.
We have that awesome gift for you guys. So definitely take advantage of that for sure, because Morgan has brought a lot of success to a lot of women, including myself. So definitely check her out. And Morgan, I'm so glad you're here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. And I love talking about this. So this is like a night out for me. Like this is fun. Daughter's in bed. It's good. So
I love it. Well, I appreciate you being here. And I know the ladies have gained a ton of knowledge and wisdom from you as well. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, ladies. Well, I hope that you have gained a lot of wisdom and insight, and we will see you on the next show. Have a great night. Bye.
Bye, guys.